Hello and welcome to Peggy's Plants, coming to you from Central Florida with a Lowe's clearance houseplant haul. Anytime we go through a period of bad weather, there's a good chance there's going to be lots of plants on the clearance rack. And sure enough, today there's lots of plants on clearance. So I'm not going to do a whole shopping tour on the clearance plants, but I do want to show you a little of what's available. Then I'll show you what I purchased. Since we recently had a major rain event, I'm expecting that most of these plants will just be overwatered or have a lot of water sitting in the pots. Oops, case in point. It's a cute little money tree in a little ceramic pot. Didn't expect that to happen on cue. And these are 50% off. There's a whole different pricing list for these plants. Look at all this water. And a lot of times these plants aren't really damaged or anything. They're just, waterlogged. So they have to be dried out and things like that. But as you can see, there's just rows and rows of plants. Look at the syngonium. Here's a look at the price list. But let's see. So this syngonium is $4. Didn't seem to have anything wrong with it. But wow, it's just overwhelming. There's so many plants in here. And over here, there's landscaping plants. As you can see, there's lots of succulents, house plants, everything. I like to go for the ones that have the ceramic pots already, or terracotta pots just like that, because it's just a much better deal because you get the plant and the pot. And you know me, I like a good bargain. But lots and lots to choose from. House plants, landscaping plants, some of everything. Today I'm going to focus mainly on house plants because that's all I'm looking for, because I know I'm not going to get out in the yard and plant anytime soon. Some bromeliads. Over here are some of those snake plant arrangements like I showed in my last shopping trip. I think they were going for like somewhere around $36, some of them, and so they would be half price. But as you can see, most of these plants look just fine. What is this here? Look at this bromeliad, and again, full of water. And that's usually what happens when they have the outer pots, the decorative pots. So this one would be $4 since it's normally $9.98, and that includes the terracotta pot. What a bargain. So I'm just going to keep on peeking through here a little bit. I'll show you a little bit more. And that one is usually $30, so that would be $15 because they would be half price. I think it's anything over $19.99 or $15.99. I'm not remembering, but I know it would be half price. They have some of the pineapple plants that I like so much. Oh, look at these philodendron moonglows. And these are half price. So a lot to choose from for sure. I'm going to have to stop recording so I can dive in here and get some goodies before they're all snapped up. But there's not a lot of people around, as you can tell. I'm trying to avoid people. That's why you'll see the editing. It'll jump every now and then. These are half price. But yeah, a lot to choose from. Some air plants, bromeliads, arrangements, global green. Oh, here we go with some Costa Farms. I always look for these because, again, great deal with the pots, and these would be half price. ZZ Raven, so they would be like $10. Excellent, excellent. Can't beat it. Here's a Trubii Moonlight. Can't beat the trending tropicals for $10. Some of these, I believe this is a type of fern. That would be half price. Okay, let's get to what I bought. As you can see, there's a lot to choose from, and it took a lot for me to exercise self-control. I did pretty good. I just spent a little over $40. And they also have a first responders discount for different first responders and stuff. So you might want to check into that as well, military as well. And so these are the prices that I got, but there's 6 plants on here and I only bought 5. So I got charged for something I didn't buy. The first plant that I got is this Dieffenbachia. I really like these plants. I got this plant, it's normally $12.98. I got it for $6.30. When I lived in the Keys, I had a lot of Dieffenbachia and I gave them all away to a neighbor. They were growing outside. I don't know what I was thinking. They were huge, but I've always wanted another one since. So this is the only Dieffenbachia I now have. So I'm happy to add it to my collection. Love the speckled leaves and everything. And again, this one, all that I can see is that the soil is very wet and there's some yellowing and browning on some of the leaves. And that can very well be related to overwatering. So I'm thinking all that I'm going to have to do is dry this plant out. So I removed the discolored leaves and dried the plant. And this is what it's looking like 2 weeks later. I haven't seen any more evidence of leaves yellowing or browning, so I do believe that was just due to the overwatering. And otherwise, this plant has done well. I've had absolutely no problems with it. So one good plant, a Dieffenbachia for $6.30 on clearance. Let's move on to the next plant. So the next plant that I picked up on clearance is this Hoya carnosa. I did my plant tour and someone said I would have picked up all of those Hoyas. Well, it's a good thing I didn't because I was able to save money and get it on clearance. Again, just a lot of wet soil, even though this one is not in a decorative outer pot. And this one originally was selling for, let's see here, for $14.98. So I got this plant again for $6.30. And I don't see anything wrong with this plant at all, really. I don't see any discolored leaves. I don't see any rot, nothing. This plant looks totally good. And it may just be that they needed to get it off the shelf to make room for the new shipments that are coming in, which also happens. So I was just in the right place at the right time. After 2 weeks, letting this plant dry out, this is what the plant looks like today. Totally healthy, never had any problems with anything, never saw any signs of damage on this plant at all. So I was just able to get a nice Hoya carnosa for $6.30. And again, I think I'm going to put this one outside, mounted in a tree, because I do have a Hoya already out there and it's doing well. Yes, I'm in Central Florida and apparently they can handle the climate here. So that's why I bought this Hoya. So let's move on to plant number 3. I shouldn't be nearly as excited about this plant as I am because I already have one of these, but I could not pass up this Cebu Blue Pothos. It's a nice full hanging pot. And they have like 5 of them there. They look really good. Yeah, there's a couple of dead leaves, some yellow spots on a few of them. But other than that, this looks like a perfect pot of plants. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. I mean, I'm sure they could have probably sold this plant for full price, but I'm thinking that they put this on the clearance rack to make room for new inventory. I love the way this looks in a hanging pot, but I also like the way they look when they put them on moss poles and they get the big fenestrated leaves. So that's what I'm trying for. I want to probably thin this out, keep a little of it for myself to put on a moss pole, and then probably give the rest to a friend. But that is my intentions with this plant. Now, the regular price on this plant is $19.98, and on clearance I was able to get it for $8.99. Can't beat that. So after a couple of weeks, this is what the plant looks like. Just to show you, there was absolutely no decline on this plant. I cut off the yellow leaves and that's all I did was let it dry out, and it looks amazing. This one is actually more full than the one that I've had for quite some time, but I really love this plant. So I'm thinking maybe I'll keep this one and thin out the other one since this one is so nice and full. So another great find on the clearance racks for $8.99, the Cebu Blue Pothos. Another great clearance find was this ZZ plant. Now, I have a ZZ Raven, but I've never had just the regular green ZZ plant. So I'm very excited to add this to my collection. I've wanted one for a while, but I've held off, hoping that I would find one on clearance, and today was my day. Now, it's in the Trending Tropicals pot, but I'm not sure this is part of the Trending Tropicals collection. I think it was just kind of dropped in this pot. All I see wrong here is that the decorative pot was absolutely full of water, so it's very much waterlogged, and you have to be concerned about the tubers in this situation because they get too full and they just turn to mush. But this one, they had marked down to, let me see if I can show you here, $14.98. And again, I believe that's because it didn't originally come in this pot and they just kind of dropped it in there, but I got this for $6.30. So I am very excited about my ZZ plant. And just like the others, I'm going to show you what it looks like 2 weeks later. Hasn't died back at all. It's doing great. I didn't have to trim anything off of this plant. I see absolutely no signs of decline. The soil is dry, so I'm thinking that if I was going to see any signs of decline, I would have seen them by now. So I think we're in the clear with this one. So another great find on the clearance rack. Now, if you've followed me for any time, you've seen me stop and look at this plant almost every time I see it when I'm doing a plant shopping video. It's a red pineapple plant. The pineapple is in the bromeliad family, so yeah, you know how I am about bromeliads, but look at the colors on this plant. And yes, it does bear fruit, so I will get a little pineapple on here, but I wanted it for the foliage because I think it's so striking and beautiful. As soon as I saw this was one of the first plants I grabbed in the clearance section. So this plant, again, seems to be in excellent shape. I don't really see any problems with it. The only thing that I did find was, once again, the decorative pot was absolutely full of water. I mean, I had to pour it out, set the plant back in, it drained. I had to pour out more water. So this one has been very waterlogged. And the original price on this plant was $14.98. So I was able to get this plant on clearance for $6.30. And once again, after letting it dry out for a couple of weeks, this plant had no dieback at all, no problems. I didn't have to trim anything off of this plant. It's just sitting here on this table with the rest of the plants looking absolutely fabulous. Don't know that I'm going to keep it right here or if I'm going to plant it outside. I have not yet decided, but I'm in love with this plant, and for right now it's going to stay right here so I can stare at it. Before I go, I just want to share with you just a couple of things I do initially when I buy plants on clearance and pretty much when I bring plants into my home. The first stop is always in my laundry room. I put them in the sink and I spray them down with a pesticide. I want to make sure that I'm not introducing any bugs into my home and so that they can infect the rest of my plants. That's a big deal for me. So I leave them back here. I spray them down good, leave them back there for a couple of days. To dry my plants out, and the ones that are in decorative pots, I like to put leca pellets in the bottom of the pot so that the pot doesn't fit as tightly around the plastic pot, around the nursery pot. This way, air is able to get to the bottom of the plant. It helps dry it out quicker, and it also makes it so that if I water in this pot, I don't end up leaving the pot sitting in standing water. This for me has been very helpful, especially sometimes when I'm watering on the fly and I'm just pouring it in there and they have decorative pots. You also want to make sure that you clean any debris out of your plant out of the pot, any dead leaves and things like that, because that's a way for, that's enticing to fungus gnats. So other than that, did nothing but wait, let them dry out, and I have added 5 beautiful plants to my collection on a budget, a very low budget at that. So thank you so much for watching. Don't be afraid to go out there and shop those clearance racks. If you don't, you might just be missing out. Take care. Hope to see you next time. Stay well. Bye-bye.